Picture two people, same job, same salary, same 40-hour contract on paper. The first person's calendar is packed solid from 8 in the morning until 8 at night, back-to-back meetings. 3 group chats pinging constantly. An inbox that never hits 0. They eat lunch at their desk. They answer emails during their kid's bedtime story. They tell themselves they'll rest this weekend. They never do. The second person works the exact same job. Same deadline, same boss, but they leave the office at 5, their evenings actually belong to them, and somehow they get promoted faster than the person who's always so busy. Same hours in the day, same number of tasks on the list, and yet one of them has 20 hours of real free time every single week, and the other has none. This isn't a story about workload. It's a story about the hidden relationship between time and productivity that almost nobody understands. The first person isn't lazy or incompetent. They don't waste hours scrolling their phone in any obvious way. They just gradually filled every available minute with commitments that felt necessary in the moment. The second person discovered something that changed everything. They learned that having less on your calendar doesn't mean accomplishing less. It means accomplishing more on purpose. Today, I'm going to walk you through the time minimalism rules that separate people who always have hours to spare from people who never do, regardless of how demanding their job actually is. These aren't about working less. They're about understanding that every commitment you accept has ongoing costs you've probably never calculated. Here's the concept that reframes everything. Every commitment costs you time twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the hour on the calendar. But there's a second cost almost everyone ignores, and it's usually bigger than the first. That second cost includes the mental residue before the commitment, the recovery time after it, and the opportunity cost of what you didn't do instead. A 30-minute meeting doesn't cost 30 minutes. Researchers studying context switching found it takes the brain over 20 minutes to fully refocus after an interruption. So that 30-minute meeting, sandwiched between 2 blocks of focused work, actually costs closer to 70s once you count the refocusing tax on both sides. I am not finished. The second cost also includes the dread. A meeting sitting on your calendar 3 days from now occupies mental space starting the moment you accept it, not the moment it happens. Your brain checks in on it dozens of times before it even starts. Nope, still not done. There's the opportunity cost too. Every hour locked into a recurring commitment is an hour that can't go toward the project that would actually move your career forward. When you add it all up, many commitments cost more in time than they're worth in value. This leads to the first rule. Rule 1, calculate cost per use before accepting anything new. Before saying yes to a recurring meeting, a committee, or a side project, estimate how many sessions it will actually require and divide the value you'll get by that number. A weekly hour-long sync that produces 5 minutes of useful information costs you 55 minutes of waste every single week for as long as it exists on your calendar. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to your existing calendar. Look at every standing commitment you have right now. Ask yourself, if this disappeared today, would I add it back? Be honest. Most recurring meetings fail this test immediately. They exist through inertia, not intention. Rule 3. Never add a commitment out of fear of missing out. People say yes to extra projects not because the project matters, but because saying no feels uncomfortable. Time minimalists treat FOMO the same way minimalists treat clutter, as a trap disguised as opportunity. Rule 4. Create friction for new commitments and ease for protected time. Require a 24-hour pause before accepting any new recurring obligation. Meanwhile, Make your deep work blocks automatic, untouchable, and already defended on your calendar before anyone else can fill them. Rule 5. Count your commitments regularly. Most people drastically underestimate how many things they've said yes to. Count every recurring meeting, group chat, and obligation once a month. The number alone changes behavior. Rule 6. Trial a commitment before fully owning it. Want to join that committee? Attend as a guest first. Want to take on that extra project? Ask for a 2-week trial. This reveals whether your enthusiasm is real or temporary before you're locked in. Rule 7. Understand the schedule multiplier effect. One commitment rarely stays one commitment. Joining a board means meetings, plus prep time, plus follow-up emails, plus networking events. A single yes can multiply into 5 hours a week once the full ecosystem reveals itself. Volunteering to lead one project at work often means status updates, coordination calls, and after-hours troubleshooting nobody mentioned when you agreed to it. The visible commitment is never the real commitment. The real commitment is everything attached to it that only shows up after you've already said yes. Rule 8. Define enough busyness before you start your career. High performers who never decide what enough looks like keep adding responsibilities indefinitely because more always feels like progress. Decide in advance what a full, sustainable week looks like and stop there. Rule 9. Measure time wealth by optionality, not by how full your calendar looks. Can you leave early for your kid's recital? Can you take a real vacation without your phone buzzing? Can you say no to a project without fear? Can you take a sick day without 3 people needing to be looped in first? That freedom is the actual wealth, not how impressive your schedule sounds. The person whose calendar is wall-to-wall meetings looks productive from the outside, but they've quietly traded away every choice about how their day unfolds. The person with visible white space on their calendar isn't behind. They're the only one who actually owns their time. Rule 10. Practice weekly calendar, decluttering, instead of annual burnout purges. Most people wait until they collapse, clear everything, feel great for 2 weeks, and slowly refill their calendar back to the same overwhelming point. Reviewing your week every Sunday catches the creep before it rebuilds. Here's a practical way to start applying this today. This week, go through your calendar and find 3 recurring meetings that fail the replacement test, the ones you wouldn't add back if they vanished. Decline them or ask to attend only when relevant. This month, track every new request that lands in your inbox and apply the 24-hour pause before answering any of them. Notice how many feel urgent on day 1 and forgettable by day 2. This quarter, count your total weekly commitments in 3 categories: meetings, side projects, and informal obligations like mentoring or favors. Most people discover they're carrying nearly double what they estimated. Over a single year, sex time, try this. Someone who consistently declines low-value commitments reclaims somewhere between 300 and 500 hours, the equivalent of 2 full months of working days handed back to them. Someone who keeps saying yes to everything loses that same block of time to meetings they can barely remember attending. Here's what nobody tells you about time and productivity. The relationship runs both ways. Protecting your time creates better output, but better output also makes protecting your time easier, because you're no longer scrambling to prove your worth through visible busyness. The compulsion to fill every hour usually comes from insecurity.